Welcome to the ANEW Insight Podcast, empowering and inspiring your journey to optimal health. Hosted by Dr. Supatra Tovar, clinical psychologist, registered dietitian, fitness expert, and author of Deprogram Diet Culture. Rethink your relationship with food, heal your mind, and live a diet-free life. I follow my guests' journey to optimal health, providing you with the keys to unlock your own wellness path. Tune in and evolve with us. Welcome back to the ANEW Insight Podcast. We're back for the second half of our interview with physician, psychologist, and consciousness researcher, Dr. Howard Eisenberg. Howard gave us some really invaluable insight into his inspiration to study consciousness-based practices. We are going to deep dive some more, you guys. Dr. Howard, welcome back.
Thank you, Supatra. Glad to be here again.
Yes. So you propose that our perceived reality is like a dreamlike virtual construct. How does this perspective align with our current scientific paradigms or not?
Well, our current scientific paradigm, primarily Western, is a materialistic one, thinking again that whatever is real is out there, quantifiable, measurable. And they dismiss the subjective experiences we have as being almost a random activity of our neurons, our brain cells. So it's really very dismissed in conventional psychology and more broadly even in science. In the Indigenous cultures, by contrast, and some of which are continuing, like the Aboriginal culture right now in Australia, they speak of the dream time as being more real than this waking reality that we think the opposite of here in the West. The experience of being in a dream, I think, is very analogous to the reality of our existence. So in a dream, for most of us, when we have them, we dream not just of ourselves, of other people, or maybe creatures, animals, maybe even aliens, and also different physical terrain, environments that we're in. And yet, when we wake up, we realize, no, it's just a dream. But for some of us, and not all dreams are as vivid, but for some of us at times, dreams seem totally real until we wake up. So that is a form of subjective proof for most of us, first of all, that our mind has that capability to give us detailed impressions, which is just a dream, and we don't have time. Now, there are ways you can do that too, like with hypnosis, where you take a normal person and you just change how they perceptually see things. That can be quite dramatic. Coming back, though, to why is the dream analogy a really good one and appropriate one here? Dreams come out of imagination, and everything that we now have invented, manufactured, created, built, and I repeat, everything in the world and all over the world, all of it first came from imagination.
Yes.
So even though, again, there's this initial skepticism because of the Western materialism that it can't be real or anything of value, it's the exact opposite. Back again to our earlier discussion in the previous episode of competing ideologies with different filters. However, the truth is, our existence is more like a dream. And I mentioned just in our previous episode briefly, lucid dreaming, where you learn to be able to somewhat navigate through your dream experience. So you're not just passively experience whatever's on the screen. You have a choice. There's different.
So fascinating. So tell me that it seemed to inspire your latest book, this concept, correct? Give us a picture. Tell us about your book and what inspired you to write it, and what is your mission when it comes to your book?
When I had that realization preparing for the keynote presentation I mentioned in the previous episode, I felt once I finally understood the deeper experience of reality, what it was all about, that because of my understanding, but being amphibious, also being on this level of individual people and things and events, and because of my awareness that things on this level were really bad right now, really sour. And I also, you asked about my experiences. Another one was precognition, telling the future, experience the future. So I started also having, shortly after this, some dark visions of what was coming. And I felt with what I now know about a deep understanding of reality, what I see in people so distracted and blinded and so going in the wrong direction, and in so many ways that I don't want to catalog it because it's depressing, I felt I have no choice. I have to do this. And I had published my first book almost a half century ago, Inner Spaces. So I went through a traditional publisher. In fact, at the time, it was one of the largest publishers in Canada, where I'm based. And so I first thought, okay, I'll just contact traditional publishers and say 50 years later, I have an update. And I asked them, how quickly can you get it into the stores in print? And they said, best case, after you submit a manuscript, 2 to 3 years. And when you submit a manuscript, you've been through this with your book, perhaps.
Yep.
They sometimes send a manuscript back to you with some question, like rewrite your introduction, give us an extra chapter, whatever it might be. And it can take a long time until they make a final decision. And even then, they have a already pre-publication schedule for other things. And I thought, the world's falling apart. I can't wait.
Yes.
So I used my own retirement funds to do this book. And even doing it on my own, I asked the people I had hired to help me do this. I wrote it all, but I mean, someone has to physically put it together, so to speak. And I asked them, what's the fastest you can get it out there for me? And they said, possibly a year. And that was better than 2 or 3 years. I said, it's not enough. Supatra did it in 5 months. So the day I submitted my manuscript, the day it was on Amazon, all over the world, 5 months. But I felt I had to. That I was competing with some other publication possibly. And even now, as I said, I have this precognitive sense of things unfolding darkly. And so much has already happened, and so much more I fear is going to happen. So right now, it is my mission. I'm a doctor on one level to help people, help heal them. I never thought it'd be the world, but I know it sounds crazy in a way, but right now it feels like it's the world. And
not to go dark. We don't have to go dark. But what are some of your precognitions? What's already come to fruition, and what do you fear will continue to come to fruition if people aren't waking up?
if you remember what I said earlier about imagination and how imagination, in dreams as an example, can turn into what seems like reality. And even like in medicine, the placebo effect. If you believe something will help you, sometimes it really does. But if you're also suspicious about side effects and allergies and so on, you may actually have, even as a placebo, a negative reaction to it. So my point is, if I describe some of the things I foresee happening, it will be somewhat vivid and people